Chris. Good evening. My name is Chris Considine, and I'm delighted to be here, but I have a complaint. I was told this was like a pub atmosphere. It was going to be in Swans, Strathcona, there would be lots of beer flowing, and Paul has let us down, so I think he's going to have to try to rectify that for the next time. I'm delighted to be with you because I'm able to speak, because I'm able to walk, I can run, I can see. I'm delighted to be with you because also I can give hope to those who've had strokes or may have strokes, or those of you who know others who may need some hope, because I have survived a stroke. Several years ago, I had gone down to the Mayo Clinic for an executive health checkup. I had been declared by the doctors there as in the top 1% of males in my age category in North America. Probably not something very much to be proud of, knowing the obesity rates in the United States and how people are these days there. But I was in good shape. About 3 months afterwards, I went up to Whistler Blackcomb, very enthusiastically thought I could ski, went on to some moguls, fell, and I hit the back of my neck and the side of my neck area on the right side on my vertebral artery and crushed it in two places, at the C2 level and the C5-6 level approximately. I had an intense headache shortly thereafter. Within minutes, I had some numbness in my face. I went and slept that afternoon. I thought, it's just soft tissue injury, not worry about it, get over it, get on with life. I took some various painkillers like Tylenol, kept on persisting. 2 weeks later, I went to see a doctor who thought soft tissue injury, don't worry about it, it should get better. 2 weeks after that, so 4 weeks after my stroke, I was about to go out to dinner with my wife. Some very good wine was laid on by some friends. I sneezed before I got out the door, and within 3 seconds, the clots had been thrown to my brain, and I couldn't walk. I was extremely dizzy. My vision was impaired. I was nauseous, and I had intense headache. The symptoms that are up here, essentially. Now, we live in North Saanich. My wife is Scottish. She has a total and utter disregard for the speeding laws in Canada. I knew that she could outrun any ambulance, so I said, get me to Sanpan. Fortunately, I had had 3 cases, because I'm a lawyer, involving stroke in the 18 months to 2 years beforehand. I'd actually consulted Andrew on one of them. So I knew the symptoms of stroke, and I knew that if I didn't get to the hospital and get proper treatment within a period of about 2 hours would be optimum, my chances of a really good outcome were really limited. So I got there to the Saanich Peninsula. The doctor said, right, we need to get you in the ambulance to VGH. Got in the ambulance. The guys in the ambulance didn't turn on the siren, didn't turn on the lights. So I said, guys, come on, this is serious. Get me to the hospital, let's go. So they turned on the lights and siren. We made it. Dr. Wayne Steibel, who's a colleague of Andrew Penn's, had the difficult task of trying to recognize what type of stroke is this. The imaging machines were down. The clerk was out. So he had to figure that one out, and he took the risk, and he said, I think probably you've got a blockage, and I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to administer a TPA substance to you. I'm going to put you on heparin. You may not survive the night, and over the next few weeks, your chance of survival, you're going to have some risk factors here. It's not easy when you're lying on the gurney to hear that. You're saying to your wife how much you love her, because you don't know if you can make it through the night. You're thinking of your 4 children. Fortunately, I got through the night. I knew that my chances of survival were improving when 2 days later a doctor showed up, not a doctor in this room, with 2 large laundry baskets full of files because he wanted to consult me on a case of his. The press were not so kind. They contacted the courthouse because they heard I was either dead or dying. So, having remembered the words of Mark Twain that the news of my death was perhaps premature, I decided that I was going to get on with living. And I decided as well, and some of you may remember Mike Harcourt had a very bad fall 10 or 12 years ago, and one of the key things for him to motivate him to get going again was to walk out of the hospital. So that was really important. I remembered Mike's example, and I managed to do that. But the question is, what was the state that I was in when I came out of that hospital? Various friends sat me down and said, Chris, look, you've had a stroke. It's pretty well over. You can just go on your disability. You don't have to worry about money again. The insurance company will look after you, and you can just go from there. I didn't want to do that because I wanted to be able to go back to work. I wanted to be with my family, my friends, and to live life to the full. So I was very lucky that I had the help of two doctors, an Alan Bass, who's a rehab physician here in Victoria, and another fellow called Ken Thornton, who used to be head of pathology, and very old friends, very good friends. And they said, Chris, we are going to work with you, because there wasn't a lot of rehabilitation available to me in Victoria at that time. So together we worked out programs where I would try to start exercising. And almost as soon as I got out of the hospital, we did that. So I live out in North Saanich. So I had to get somebody to drive me to Sydney because I wasn't allowed to drive for months and months. And I started by walking a block. Now that's not a full block. That's a side of a block. I could walk one side. I'd have to sit down for 20 minutes to 30 minutes and then walk back to the car so my friend could drive me back to my home. Did that. Then I worked with Peter Mason, who was a teacher at Stelli's school, who developed a climbing wall program, and started using a climbing wall there with the help of some students from Stelli's to develop my coordination again so that I could be able to perhaps walk properly again without such the impairment I had, be able to use my hands and arms properly and regain my strength because I had a lot of weakness. If I ever did things, I would get the nausea sensations back. My vision, I couldn't, for the first few days, I couldn't read at all. And to a lawyer, not being able to read, that's pretty scary. Fortunately, my cognitive abilities, such as they are, or might be, or were not impaired too much, which was good. They weren't impaired at all, as far as I was concerned. And over the next year, I continued to work at these activities. I started to do some work at my profession as a lawyer again, and I improved. So I decided, okay, I've got to have a goal for my improvement, to show to myself that I can do it. So I decided and went off to the Himalayas, to Namche Bazaar, some of you may know, is in the Khumbu area, leading up to Mount Everest Base Camp. So I decided to go there and hike up to Mount Everest Base Camp and back. So I did that in 3.5 days. I then decided 3 months later to go climb Mont Blanc with one of those students from Stelli's who'd helped me. So we did that in 5.5 hours. And since then, I've been able to keep on climbing around the world, taking my oldest son, who's with me in the audience today, when he turned 16 to climb in the Alps. My second oldest son, when he turned 16 last year, to climb in Spain and then go running with the bulls, much to his mother's chagrin. We survived that one too. And today, my life is a full life. My message is that if you have a stroke, if you're lucky, and you get on with rehabilitation right away, your chances of getting back to a reasonable function or a full function are much enhanced, as you're going to hear from Craig Brown in a moment. But I developed for myself some tips which may or may not apply to those of you who know people who've had a stroke or any other type of illness. And these are that I found socialization really important. So to be able to spend 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day with somebody who's not a family member, either on the phone, email, in person, was critical because it kept depression away, gave you something to look forward to. To do a project other than your rehabilitation was really important. Project being to maybe design something or think of what you want to do with your garden or whatever. So you had something to aim for, something to think about, to live for. In your rehabilitation, you set a goal each day for yourself. I'm going to walk that extra step, that extra 10 meters. You may not do it, and you've got to realize that you may have setbacks, but at the same time, if you keep on trying and realizing that it may be 2 steps forward but 1 step back sometimes, your chances are going to be improved, and you'll keep that depression away. So I think that recognizing the symptoms, getting the right treatment, and most importantly, the rehabilitation is up to you, but also the community as a whole. And if you can enlist the support of friends and family to help you, you'll have a really good chance. Finally, I want to say that you're going to hear from Craig Brown, whose research is fantastic in what he's doing. And I think it's very applicable to the humans. You're going to hear from Andrew Penn, whose work in stroke recovery and assistance has helped so many people, not only in the CRD area, but throughout this province. So it's to all those people that I'm grateful as a patient. Thank you very much, and good luck to all of you.